Hi, I'm Judith Germain, the Maverick leadership expert, and this is the Mavericks of Mass Creation. It's a series of unscripted conversations between myself and creativity activator David Chislett. Hi, David. We believe mavericks and creativity combine to make an irresistible force for change that is sorely needed in a world that is developing faster than at any time in our history. With these videos, it is our desire to share our knowledge about maverick leadership and creativity with you to help make this world a better place. In today's chat, we'll be discussing do nothing.
Well, that's the end of that conversation then. We can go home.
That absolutely scares me. What do you mean do nothing?
I kind of thought it would. And I think, when I first discovered this idea, I was also very suspicious because I'm, as we were discussing briefly in the previous episode, a doer. I like to do. I'm not really very happy if I'm not doing something. What's going on in the moment in the world is, especially on social media, there has emerged this thing called the attention economy. I'm sure you've heard the term. And what that means is that people are earning money from where you put your attention. In other words, your attention has value. So what do nothing means to me a lot of the time is don't burn your attention. Don't put it go down the scroll hole on your Facebook or your Instagram feed or down the YouTube rabbit hole. I mean, we've all done that. It's about being a little more directed with your attention. Rather read a book or have a conversation, because what are you actually doing when you're scrolling through a social media feed?
So yeah, well, for most people, I'd imagine they're doing nothing.
It's a weird contradiction. And this is where it gets interesting. So what do you see on your social media feed? You see stuff from your friends. You see stuff that's related to stuff you've liked before or viewed before. In other words, you're sitting in a very tightly ring-fenced little cabin. So when you persistently put your attention into the echo chamber of social media, you are denying yourself diversity of inputs. You are essentially only seeing stuff that you already know, that you already agree with, that you already like. Now, what happens when you do nothing instead of scrolling through social media? You get restless, you get antsy. You want to do something, you want to go read a book, you want to your brain kind of comes a little bit unmoored, and that's a good thing. We are so busy from the moment we wake up until the moment we go to bed, being busy with something or other. And all those moments where 30 years ago you would have been doing nothing, we are now on our phones or on our tablets or doing something all the time. Now, this is so important because the brain state that is required for creative thinking requires mental quiet. Now, when you think, your neurons fire, and your neurons make a noise. They go snap, crackle, pop. Luckily, you can't hear it. That's why we're not all nerds. So if you're just thinking about, oh, look at that dress she's wearing. Oh, what a tart. Tens and thousands of neurons are firing in your brain. When you have an aha moment, when you go, oh, I got the solution to that issue I was thinking about last night, it fires off a few hundred, maybe a few thousand at most. Now, if you're constantly thinking, you're pretty much just not going to hear that aha moment going off in your head. So that's the first really big thing. The second condition of creative thinking, the mind state of, is that you need to be inward looking. Now, scrolling and constantly doing is the complete opposite of being inward looking. It's outward looking. In fact, it's doing your best not to be inward looking, because that could be uncomfortable. So let's go look out and do things in the world. Let's go and do things in the world. But if you want to be a creative thinker, you need to have introspection. You need to be busy with what you already know and how you feel about things and what you actually think about the world. The third condition of creative thought is that you need to be slightly happy. And I guess that would be phrased better as just saying not experiencing any negative emotions. So you shouldn't be stressed or anxious or angry or riled up or outraged, as we all are on social media. Instead, you need to be, well, quite content. And the last condition is that you mustn't be trying too hard. And what are we doing on social media? Presenting our very best self.
Yeah.
Now, in the shower, you're definitely not trying too hard because you've showered a few times before. You're definitely slightly happy because it's warm and it's comfy and it's like, ooh, negative ions, whoa, charges the soul, lovely. You're definitely inward looking because you're in an enclosed box and you don't really want to be interrupted because you're naked. So you're just thinking about your own stuff. And you most certainly have mental quiet because you're relaxed and that falling water is doing its trick. And that's why you so often come up with fantastic ideas in the shower.
See, that's really true. And I'm wondering if do nothing means don't do anything on purpose. So, like, if you're, I'm just sort of thinking normally, like pre-mobile phones, you'd go to a restaurant with your friends, say, you're having a great time, someone goes to the toilet, and you'd be on your own. So you would just look around at other people, then you imagine what they're talking about, and you'd have all this sort of stuff. Whereas now, someone goes to the toilet, everyone's like, with the phone, flick, 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 flick. So I'm wondering, do you really mean do nothing, or do you mean switch off from cognitively thinking about something and let the brain relax? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, phew.
But it can also mean do nothing, as in stop working, go for a walk the dog, do the ironing. All of these things that you've done so many times before that you don't need to think about them are great breeding grounds for creative thought. So I mean, if you drive a lot and you drive the same route every day, you'll quite often have quite startling ideas behind the wheel of your vehicle, because your body knows what to do. Your consciousness is loosely keeping tabs on everything that's going on. And your unconscious is very busy in the background with everything that you saw and experienced and felt today. I mean, this is what happens when you sleep. And it is replicatable when you are conscious, but you can't be busy. Busyness kills creativity stone dead.
So are we destroying, because everybody talks about the younger generation being like the hope for the future.
Yeah.
Are we destroying their ability to create when we now know that their attention spans are so small because they're flicking at things all the time, and they are genuinely uncomfortable in quiet and uncomfortable being alone? So are we dooming ourselves?
I don't know. But from everything that I know about creative thought, screen time is a problem. And not because of all the normal reasons that parents might float, but because of this one, because of this fact that your brain is constantly in action and there is no quiet. There has got to be quiet. And if we do not have quiet, we will slowly go mad. I don't think that it's coincidental that, psychological issues are on the rise amongst the youth, when at the same time, technology dependence is on the rise amongst the youth. There is no time to be you. There is no time to only be with you, to only be concerned with you, because we're always online. We're 24/7 on, being concerned with what everyone else thinks about us, being outwardly focused.
It's like the anti-Maverick, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because the Maverick doesn't really care what people think, and they're happy to be on their own, and they love thinking.
Yeah. But you see, where it gets complicated is that, as far as I can tell, the youth seems to have a far better idea of who they are than my generation ever did when we were growing up.
Except for who they are is the same as everybody else is who they are. It doesn't feel to be that uniquely different.
Well, I think certainly when I was a youth growing up, it was difficult to get hold of anything interesting. You had to expend real effort. So I was into less than commercial music, and I was living in a pariah land. So to get hold of what we wanted required effort and ingenuity, and it became a badge of honor to have gotten it. And that was fundamental to our notion of our identity, of who we were. Whereas today, nothing is difficult to get hold of if you live in the first world. You just Google it and order it, and there it is. So these things are no longer identity forming. And that's why kids don't have the relationship to music that people like me did. Or even to fashion or to style or to anything really. It's a constantly moving target. But I mean, so all of that is so unique that I'm quite loath to say, well, it's going to kill us. But what does concern me is the fact that it does appear to be removing those conscious reflective moments from our lives, which I know for a scientific fact are deep wells of innovation and creative thought and ideas.
So can you teach someone to do nothing?
Well, I think for example, what I said at the beginning about this, about unpacking what the attention economy actually is, I think that's quite shocking to people. It's like, hang on, so because I'm choosing to put my attention here, someone else is making money off me. Just by being here doing this, I'm making someone else money. I mean, that's not very cool. Why wouldn't you be choosing to put your attention somewhere where at least it's making you money or benefiting you in some way, rather than, potentially lining, Mark Zuckerberg's pockets even further? So I don't know about teaching it, but I think you can certainly alter people's perspective on what they are doing.
Okay. So, sorry.
No, and this is where the algorithms that fire all of this online stuff just have become actually seriously concerning. So the purpose of the algorithm is to keep giving you more of what you already like, so that someone can sell more advertising. That's it. It's got nothing to do with informing you, of bettering you, of expanding your horizons. It's exactly the opposite.
Okay. So is doing nothing the same as mindfulness? So I'm just thinking, if somebody might be watching the video and say, well, I have periods of doing nothing because I do yoga or I meditate. I'm not getting the sense that's what you mean.
No, it's not. I mean, I guess those things could be what I mean, but what I mean encompasses a lot more than that. I think what I mean is that you've got to just, because I mean, I've met yogis who are so obsessed with being the best yogi in the room, they were essentially getting none of what I understand yoga is all about out of their practice. And so in that sense, they were not doing nothing, they were competing. So it's about a fundamental mindset. It's because remember that the creative mindset requires you to be comfortable with ambiguity and with complexity and to be drawn to the new. And so when you're doing nothing, you need to be sitting in a place which is undefined, ill-defined, where you don't really know whether you like it or not. Are you attached to this or not? There are many options, and you're kind of just sitting in the middle, checking it all out. That sounds like a lot like meditation. But unfortunately, a lot of the time we're busy with going, okay, so that was 15 minutes. Yes, I beat my record from yesterday. And then it's all out the window again.
So sometimes in the doing nothing where you are looking, so sometimes I will go and I have nothing to do, i.e. I have no work to do. I might have things to do. I don't choose to do and I decide to read a book, but I'm not necessarily invested in that book. I choose to go to read the book, so I'm doing something, so my mind can run off and do nothing. It's like I'm hiding.
I watch bad sci-fi series on Netflix because, it's totally unbelievable. There's no intellectual challenge in the plot. There's lots of bangs and flashing lights, and it's just like, oh yeah, I'm effectively doing nothing. And in the background, my unconscious brain is whirring away processing stuff. That's cool.
So there's a question. So when someone lucid dreams, they're doing nothing, but it's kind of a creative process too, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, lucid dreaming is interesting, isn't it? Because, dreaming is your unconscious brain doing what it does. Lucid dreaming seems to imply some kind of conscious brain intervention or control over that. Whether one can still then therefore call lucid dreaming an un or subconscious process is debatable. And therefore, is it actually doing nothing?
That's a good question. I know that been dreaming about something and not liking the ending and go back and pick, go back and pick a different option, and then I kind of submit to the dream for it and to see what then happens with this new option. And then when I wake up, it's like, that's what I'm going to do, because I've kind of processed it, I suppose, in the dream.
My theory about dreaming is that is exactly the function that it fulfills. While your conscious brain is busy doing nothing, your unconscious brain is running scenarios, is making unexpected matches, is crashing stuff together to see if it matches, not because it thinks it matches already. And so you have odd conjunctions and strange combinations and weirdness and psychedelia, while you're asleep. And all of that is achievable when you're awake, but not if you're busy the whole time.
That's a fantastic place to stop, and I will go away and ponder that, actually. I like that.
Cool.
So thank you for that, David.
My pleasure.
And thank you for watching and listening in, and we hope you found it useful and enjoyed our conversation. Check the show notes for our links and sign up to our newsletters or any social feeds to keep in touch. There'll be more Mavericks of Mass Creation in our next episode soon.